What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, two things before I get started. One, I want to say thank you. The response has been phenomenal. You guys are leaving excellent questions. When I was first deciding to do this on the channel, I was like, some people are going to leave dumbass shit. And I was actually wrong because you guys are leaving great questions. Very hard to pick from because there are a lot of great questions, but due to time restraints and getting the information out, I can only pick certain ones. So don't feel discouraged. I'll try to get to the next questions next week or whatever. So I selected my questions for this week. I'm going to go over them in this video. Second thing, I already made this video, but the audio accidentally got deleted, so I'm redoing it. So you guys are lucky. I like you guys because I'm answering all these questions again because I fucked up and deleted it. So let's get into it. All right, first question is Ward versus Kovalev. What you think? And then someone responded, I also would like your thoughts on this potential match. Personally, I think if Ward gets active again, he would dominate Kovalev. Excellent question. Now, people are buzzing. Sergey Kovalev against Bernard Hopkins. Hopkins is a legend. Now, one thing I don't do is make a bunch of excuses in terms of someone takes an L. It is what it is. People get all emotional and they're like, oh, Hopkins was 50. He was supposed to lose. But if that was the case, there's a lot of people on YouTube and a lot of channels, a lot of fans who had Bernard Hopkins winning. So don't take away from Kovalev's effort when he had a shutout. And even myself, I predicted the fight pretty much how it went. I didn't think it would be that dominant of a performance where it wasn't really even competitive, where you gave Bernard Hopkins no fucking round. So give the man Kovalev his credit. It's an excellent fight, him and Ward. Hopkins is older. I'm not making excuses, but I mean, he is older. I get that, but he's still a legend. He's still a veteran, and there are still a lot of people picking him. Now, Ward is kind of like a younger version. They both have kind of quote-unquote dirty tactics where they know how to fall in after they throw a punch. They know when to hold, clinch, and that kind of thing. So it's a good fight, and it's a fight that needs to happen. Personally, I'm a Bay Area dude. Shout out to Oakland. I like Ward. I like Kovalev too, like I told you guys on my channel. I like boxing. Ward Kovalev is very extremely intriguing to me because Ward is a very skilled fighter. I don't know how long we can keep him on the pound for pound list if he's not active and other guys are doing what Kovalev did and having breakout performances, but he's still a skilled fighter. I know for a fact that he's staying in shape. He's still training, but it would be good to see this particular matchup really based on the fact of Ward. There's only a couple of fights at 168 that I would like to see him in. And if he's not going to fight those dudes, or they don't want to fight him, or it can't be made, then this is the next natural progression for him to move up to 175 and make these fights. I would watch Triple G versus Ward at 168, or the Durrell brothers. Those are really the only fights that mean a damn. I mean, I would watch a Carl Froch rematch to see how Ward looks with two hands and see if Carl Froch, just because he's been winning, see if he looks any different. But I really don't see Froch beating Ward even in a rematch. So the first three fights that I said, the Durrell brothers or Triple G, are more intriguing to me. I would settle for a Chavez Jr. fight, but that's about it. Those are really the only fights that I want to see Ward in at 168. So if those can't be made for whatever reason, Kovalev should be a good option because he's already proven what he needed to prove at 168 with the Super 6. This is a great fight with Kovalev, who is rapidly gaining the fans' heart because they like what they've seen out of him. They've seen more boxing ability, and he's a treacherous puncher. So that's always dangerous. So you put skill in there and a veteran and an Olympian against a guy like Kovalev, who has a good amateur background. He just outclassed Bernard Hopkins, which a lot of people didn't think, stuck to the game plan. This is a mega fight. I like this fight a lot. First, Andre Ward needs to come back to the sport, and I think fans will give him a lot of credit for fighting a guy like Kovalev at this point if it were to happen soon, before anyone takes a loss or loses a belt or anything like that. Next question. Ego, do you think Canelo versus Triple G will ever happen? If so, who do you got in that fight? Great videos. Keep up the good work. Another good question. I don't know if it'll happen. I want it to happen. I think it's a great fight. I think the fans would love it. Both guys have entertaining styles, and they both, especially Triple G in recent memory, they both have pretty radical fan bases. I'm noticing a lot of comments about Triple G. People weren't really saying stuff maybe circa the Gabe Rosado fight, Adama fight, but now with the Mexican style and stuff, there's a lot of people that are feeling Triple G and liking what he's doing. So since like Curtis Stevens, his fan base has been picking up and picking up. So it's a good fight. Canelo is also a rock star. It's a good fight. I would favor in this fight Triple G. I think Triple G is a master at cutting off the ring. That's something Canelo needs to actually work on, in my opinion. Canelo's a hell of a fighter. He's a good fighter. He has a great, filthy inside game. But I would say I would lean towards Triple G based on the fact that he's hurting guys at 160 and they can't take his power. He has a good amateur background. He's on a roll. Whereas Canelo has had some squeak by in a couple of fights. I think he beat Trout, but did he look spectacular every single round? Was it a complete shutout? No. He looked bad in the Floyd Mayweather fight. Definitely wasn't a shutout in his behalf. And then Angulo, he did shut Angulo out, but Angulo was coming off a loss, as was he. So it's a good fight, good win for his resume, but Angulo is not Triple G, if that makes any sense. Triple G is more polished, probably more power, bigger, more accurate, great body puncher. Angulo didn't really let his hands go. And then you look at the Edeslani Lara, depending on who you ask, Lara won, and some say Canelo won. So it's like a mixed bag. So I have to go off momentum and what I've been seeing. And Triple G is simply look better, and he's the bigger guy. He's a big puncher. Canelo's still a live dog, and we haven't seen Triple G face the caliber of opponents. Like, if you look at Canelo's most recent fights, he's fought better competition. Trout, Mayweather, Angulo, and then Edeslani Lara. So I could be wrong, but I would definitely favor Triple G if that match were to happen for most of the reasons I just said. Next question. Who do you think Floyd should fight for his last two fights? I'm thinking Amir Khan and Manny Pacquiao. He needs to change up his opponents. I like that. I like both of those options for Floyd Mayweather. People don't like it. I don't like it at times. The landscape of boxing has changed. Boxing is a business. Floyd is looking to cash out. He's looking to fight. I don't think it's out of fear, but I think he wants to fight a fighter that's going to be advantageous for his bank account, bottom line. And most people are. I think Cotto's not trying to fight. I don't think the Andy Lees of the world. He wants to fight the Canelos, the people that are going to cash him out, not Curtis Stevens or somebody who, if he beats him, it's not going to make him that much money. That's the state of boxing. That's where we're at. These two provide that. Amir Khan has a solid fan base, different demographic, the UK. He has the Muslim Paki crowd as well. And then Manny Pacquiao, strong fan base, international superstar. So both these guys are basically boxing, like, staple fighters that people know. And these are good money fights as well. And I'm not saying it's all about money, so some of you guys will try to mix up what I say. I'm not saying this is the right thing, but this is the way of the world. And stylistically, they're good fights. They're good fights, especially if they get past the opponents they have in front of them. Amir Khan versus Devin Alexander and Manny Pacquiao versus Chris Algieri. If they win, these are good fights. I would like to see a Keith Thurman fight as well, but I think Keith Thurman has to do a little bit more. Not that he hasn't been trying, but I'm a type of, I don't read between the lines and all kinds of shit. I'm going off fact. Fact is, in the fans' mind, in my mind, Keith Thurman is a good fighter, but he hasn't showcased his skill on that grand platform. And I get people ducked him and shit like that, but the end result is still the same. He hasn't fought a Sean Porter even, a Kell Brook, a Marquez, one of those type of guys that we know are certified. And the reason I say Kell Brook, I'm saying, like, if Keith Thurman fought Kell Brook after Kell Brook won, just so there's no mistake about what I'm trying to say. So Keith Thurman still has to find that. He's fought a lot of middle of the road dudes. So hopefully he gets his shot so he can showcase what he can do. And that's another fight I would like for Floyd Mayweather if one of the two that I just said didn't happen with Khan or Pacquiao. Next question. Pacquiao versus Maidana. Do you think this fight will happen in the near future? What do you think about this fight if it were to happen? I love it. I think it's a great fight. Maidana always comes to bring it. I don't care what anyone says. He has been improving his technique, better jab, better endurance, better stamina. And he gave Mayweather a couple fits. He looked good. He looked better than a lot of people anticipated him looking. And he's a lethal puncher. So fighting a guy like Pacquiao, that just spells explosive. Pacquiao, very hard to gauge and get a read on. He's southpaw. Pacquiao has power, even though he hasn't really had many knockouts. You still got to respect his power. And he has the speed advantage. This is more of an explosive fight, and I've always said this. Floyd, especially in the rematch, some people were like, oh, I see Antonio Tarver, Roy Jones Part 2. I didn't see that. Floyd is the master of making adjustments, and he did exactly what I thought. Maidana licked off a good shot in the third round, but One punch don't win fights. And Maidana and Pacquiao, it's a different ballgame because their styles spell trouble. You know what I mean? Somebody's probably going to get at least knocked down or knocked out based on how they both fight. So I would love to see a fight between Pacquiao and Maidana in the near future. And I think it's possible, especially with Bernard Hopkins hopping over to HBO, making it happen with Sergey Kovalev. Hopefully that opened the floodgates for a lot of people and woke them up and the promoters up to like, hey, this. I'm sure when the Hopkins ratings come back with Kovalev, it probably did pretty good. You know what I mean? So hopefully that wakes up the promoters and they do what's right for the sport and for the fans. Pacquiao Maidana is explosive, and I would love to see that fight to see what would happen if Pacquiao gets past Chris Algieri. Next question. What's going on with Golden Boy and Al Heyman behind the scenes? Do you see Heyman starting his own promotional company? Now, this is more my opinion. I haven't done any digging or research to find out what's actually happening other than reading and stuff. But I definitely think Al Heyman is starting his own production company. Like Floyd Mayweather says, Floyd Mayweather is his own boss. I think Al Heyman is also his own boss. He doesn't really answer to anybody, so I think he's looking to start that up. And that's possibly why he didn't want fighters that he's advising, Keith Thurman, Peter Quillen, to sign with a potential rival company like Jay-Z's Rock Nation, because he probably promised them, like, stay put, I'm going to take care of you, just hold on, kind of thing. So he's probably starting his own imprint. As far as Golden Boy, Oscar cleaned house, got rid of some of his old staff. Richard Schaefer resigned, as you guys know. And I think he's looking to start straight, and he's trying to please the fans. He's trying to make these fights that do what's right for the sport, and I like that. He's fighting Mauricio Herrera versus Benavidez. That's on the Tim Bradley top rank card against Diego Chavez. He's going to make an appearance at that fight and then go downtown in Vegas to see his own card, which is Amir Khan, Devin Alexander, and then the Charlo brother versus Andrade, etc. So I like what Oscar's doing as long as he stays true to the statements he's been putting out in the public, stating that he wants to do what's right for the sport, for the fans, fuck the Cold War, and I like the way he's trying to move the needle. Get back to the classic boxing instead of like people making excuses like, oh, they're on that side, can't fight them. So that's what I think personally is happening with Al Heyman and Golden Boy. What do you think is the next big money fight out there that could reach around 2.5 million buys? Truthfully, 2.5 million buys in this climate is very steep, in my opinion. So I think the only fight that really is going to do that type of number is Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. And that's because we waited so long, since 2008-9, and we wanted to see it. I don't really see another fight doing those type of numbers with the emergence of streaming and online sites and stuff like that. People got tablets, they just stream fights and go to Instagram and you can see clips and shit like that. So I don't really see many other fights doing 2.5 million buys other than Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. The next fight that's a blockbuster, I don't think it would do 2.5 personally, but that's Miguel Cotto and Canelo. They both have strong fan bases. It'll do great numbers. I just don't think it'll be 2.5. Next question. Who do you predict Chavez will fight next, and do you think he will ever fight Froch or Triple G? Now, Triple G, I don't know. They talked about that fight. It fell through. I don't know if he will fight him. I would love that fight, but I don't know if it'll happen. I think Froch is very realistic as far as I've heard that they're actually in negotiations to make this fight. So fights get negotiated. It's either going to be a green light or they're going to fall through. So I think they're really trying to make the Froch fight with Chavez. Chavez wants it. Froch says he wants it. He wants to end his legacy, and he wants to fight in the bright lights and in Vegas. So I really hope this fight does get made, and I think the Froch Chavez Jr. fight has a strong possibility of getting made. Nothing definitive, but I'll give you guys updates as they come. Next, Virgil Hunter has been criticized lately. Thoughts on him as a trainer? I'm from the Bay. I'm not biased. I like Virgil Hunter. At times, I look at Virgil Hunter more as kind of like a father figure, like Andre Ward says, and a motivational speaker, like a motivational guy. He's very uplifting in his approach. The criticism, I don't really, everyone has criticism. People criticize my channel, they criticize me. I don't really care about criticism because some of it, everyone's going to have a critique on whatever someone else is doing. And half of those people don't even worry about their own lives. So I don't really care about the criticism. And people are talking, from what I've heard, would be Abnemada leaving and Alfredo Angulo. But a lot of times fighters leave their trainer based on taking an L or not looking good in the fight, and it might not be the trainer's fault. I'm not quick to blame the trainer. I don't think because you take a loss that you need to find a new trainer. Now, there's certain situations where finding a new trainer is needed because they're not giving you what you need. I don't know that Abnemada's last performance or Alfredo Angulo was based on any kind of lack thereof with Virgil Hunter or the advice that he was giving. You know what I'm saying? Abnemada was coming off a tough knockout loss, and that's just what it was. Alfredo Angulo was coming off of Edeslandi loss and an injury. Then he fought Canelo, who had a good game plan. So I don't really blame Virgil Hunter for those fighters losing per se. If I had to critique myself for Virgil Hunter, what I would like to see him do different is, I know he's very passionate. I hear the passion in his voice, and I think he really cares about his fighters and his stable. But I would like to see Virgil Hunter be a little bit more vocal and when it's needed. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Angulo was getting his ass whooped versus Canelo, and I feel like he's just too calm and cool, collected. Like, now, Alfredo, what you need to do is you got to get this guy. You got to really mess him up. Like, I want to see a little bit more than that. I remember Lamont Peterson fought Thierry Jean, and Peterson started feeling himself, and he started showboating. Thierry Jean was undefeated, and he's a big puncher. So Barry Hunter got him in the corner and slapped Lamont Peterson. Like, what the fuck you doing, man? He's like, you clowning around, you going to fuck around and get hurt or give him the fight. I like that. I love when coaches do that. Another example is Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson. Emmanuel Stewart did the same thing, and I loved it. Rest in peace to Emmanuel Stewart, the legend. Emmanuel Stewart, Lennox Lewis was winning. He was winning rounds and stuff, but he knew Tyson was dangerous. Even though I think Tyson was past his prime a bit, but he was still dangerous, and Emmanuel Stewart knew that. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing? He said, you're going to fuck around and let him back in the fight, and he's going to hit you, and he's going to catch you with something. You got to get this guy. You got to get him the fuck out of here. Like, he just laid into Lennox Lewis. And then a little bit after that, I think Lennox Lewis got the stoppage on Mike Tyson. And I like to see that when coaches do that. It's not just about purely yelling, but sometimes you got to yell. You got to wake your corner up, spray them. Another example was Joel Diaz versus Timothy Bradley. He sprayed Timothy. He's like, Timmy, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, this was in the Ruslan Provodnikov fight. He was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? He's like, you can't be fighting like this. And he got pissed because Timothy Bradley was doing his own shit. He's like fighting with a chip on his shoulder, came out fighting like guns blazing. Like, I don't know what was his deal. He was mad at the Pacquiao backlash, and he was fighting a dumb fight, and he was getting hurt bad versus Ruslan Provodnikov. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that from Virgil Hunter instead of being so calm. Like, I never seen Andre Ward in trouble. Like, just real calm and collect. Sometimes, like Angulo versus Canelo, perfect example. He was getting mopped up. He was getting destroyed, and it wasn't really even competitive. And Virgil Hunter still seemed pretty friendly. I wouldn't be friendly. If I was the trainer, I'd be like, come on, man. Like, you got to do something. You got to show me something. I'm going to stop this. You have to have that little bit of grit to you. You can't just be calm, because I'm not trying to I'm not saying make your fighter panic, but you got to instill within them that, hey, you need to knock out the win. You know what I mean? You just have to be stern, if that makes any sense. So I don't agree with a lot of the criticism for Virgil Hunter, but I just gave you my criticism on what he could do differently. And that's it, man. Monday mail days. I try to go through all the questions, not make this too long, but that wraps it up for this week. If I didn't get to your questions, don't fret. There's always next week. Drop it in the video. I'll post them on Sundays. Drop it and let me know, and I'll go through questions and pick. And then just comment. Let me know what you guys think of this video, and we'll keep this thing rolling. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video is Ego, signing off.